It was a hot day in 1933. A British man named Morris Wilson was holding the stick of his small, open airplane tightly and watching the fuel tank run out. He had learned to fly an airplane only 2 months ago. But his biggest problem was not the fuel running out in the plane at thousands of feet. But there was a long list of problems, in which there were some British officers whom he had left in Bahrain, the certainty of getting arrested on landing in Iran, the raging waves of the Persian Gulf below, and the growing possibility that he would not be able to reach a safe place before the fuel ran out. But despite all this, Wilson kept moving forward because the mission he had set out on was much bigger than these small problems. And his mission was to crash his plane into the world's highest mountain, Mount Everest. Once again, welcome to another amazing video of InfoX TV. Morris Wilson was born on April 21st, 18982 in York to a middle-class textile mill owner. If the Great War had not started at the age of 16, Morris might have also not been able to reach his home. He would have joined a family textile business, but instead he followed in the footsteps of his elder brother Victor and joined the British Army on his 18th birthday. He was anxious to go to the battlefield. Finally, in November 1917, Wilson was sent to France where the Germans were attacking the British Army. By 7 a.m., the Germans had surrounded 3 of the 4 companies of Wilson's battalion, but Wilson, who was still in the remaining D Company, kept firing blindly at the Germans from the machine gun post. Wilson was very stubborn, such stubbornness that could have killed someone, but he escaped this battle without any injury. The last soldier of his company who was not injured was awarded the Military Cross for his bravery, because due to him, the German attack was stopped. But just a few months after receiving this award, Wilson was sent back to the front line in June. On July 19, 1918, Wilson was moving forward with a small team when a German machine gunner saw him and started firing, shooting Wilson in the back and left arm. He was hit by a bullet, but he survived. This wound caused pain and weakness in his arm, which followed him for the rest of his life. For the next few months, Wilson was admitted to the hospital due to his wounds. After that, he was sent to a reserve battalion, but perhaps troubles were written in his fate. As soon as he reached there, he got flu, which was spreading rapidly all over the world at that time. This disease took him to the hospital bed again, and while lying on the bed here, World War I ended. During the treatment, Wilson wrote a letter to the War Ministry in which he requested for a pension for his injuries, but the ministry rejected this request because, according to the military doctors, his injuries were not so serious that he should be given money. Wilson was very sad due to this refusal, and because of this rebellion against the government took root in his heart. This hatred remained with him till he was sent to Dimbley Ford in 1919. Wilson was faced with the same question which was faced by thousands of soldiers of the Second World War I, that we have made so many sacrifices due to our injuries. Wilson was now broken from inside, and he wanted to do something big in his life. He wandered around the world for the next 10 years. During this time, he married twice and changed many businesses, but he did not find the peace he was looking for till 1932. On top of that, the wounds of the war were still troubling him. His health was deteriorating day by day. During this time, Wilson met a Baba who said that if he remained hungry for a few days, all his problems would be solved. Wilson actually fasted for a few weeks and spent time in prayers. After a few months, he came back to society completely healthy. He got rid of not only his depression, but also his disease. Now his belief became stronger that any problem in the world can be solved by fasting and praying. Now Wilson started taking new challenges. He claimed that he would show the world something with the power of his fast that no one has been able to do before. During this time, one day, he saw a newspaper. I came across an article on the British Mount Everest expedition of 1924. In this mission, George Mallory and Andrew Owen tried to reach the top of the world's highest mountain, Mount Everest, but both got lost on the way. Wilson had now found a purpose. He was determined to climb Mount Everest, that too on his own, with the help of his fasts and prayers. But the problem was how to climb Mount Everest. Wilson knew that a lot of money is spent in the mission to climb Everest. Different gears have to be bought, and all this expense is borne by the sponsors, and above all, a lot of training has to be done. But he was looking for a shortcut to bypass all these requirements. In 1932, An Everest mission by the name of the Houston Expedition was making headlines. In this mission, a plane would go over Mount Everest for the first time, and its photographs would be taken from there. Remember that till that time, no one had climbed Mount Everest. That is why the world came to know about this mountain. Wilson was very anxious to see the peak of Mount Everest. Here, a great idea was born in Wilson's mind. He thought that he would take part in this expedition, and when the plane would be above Everest, he would jump from there using a parachute, and thus he would become the first person in the world to reach the peak of Everest. After a few weeks, he considered this idea impossible and rejected it. But for an idea which was even more dangerous, yes, Wilson had gone completely mad. He made a plan that he would buy his own plane and crash land it in the snow at a height of 15,000 feet on Mount Everest. In this way, more than half of the journey would be covered by him, and the rest half he would cover alone with the help of fasting and prayers. It is important to understand here that Morris Wilson had neither experience of mountaineering nor of flying. He practiced a little bit of climbing the mountain, but did not try to learn anything about technical mountaineering. After that, he bought a 3-year-old heavy-land Gypsy Moth plane, which was earlier it was a part of the flying circus. It was a wooden 2-seater open cabin biplane, which was quite popular in recreational aero clubs in those days. He got Everest written on the side of the plane, a self-made name, which probably resembled Mount Everest. During the pilot training, his instructor clearly told him that he would never be able to reach India, but Wilson remained adamant. During this, the British Air Ministry found out about his mission and did not want Wilson to do any such madness. When the British Air Ministry told the Nepal authorities about Wilson's plan, they canceled his permission to enter Nepal airspace. This was bad news because Wilson had planned to reach Everest via Nepal, but he could go to any extent to fulfill his stubbornness. He called the media at Walkstagan Aerodrome Airfield in London and tore the telegram of the British Air Ministry in front of everyone, and without caring about any permission, he took off for Everest, which was filled with extra fuel drums. It could travel up to 750 miles. Wilson made refueling stops in the German city of Fribourg, Marseille in France, Pisa in Italy, Naples, and Sicily. It was a beautiful and almost problem-free journey, but after crossing the Mediterranean, the problems started. In Tunisia, the police arrested him, but he was soon released. Apart from this, in Tunisia, he accidentally filled the fuel tank of the plane with water-mixed fuel, but luckily he managed to make a safe landing in the Tunisian city of Gabes. There he got the fuel refilled properly and then left for Egypt via the Libyan cities of Tripoli, Benji Tab, and Alexandria. When he reached Cairo, he got a bad news. The permit to fly over Iran, which he was assured would be waiting for him in Cairo, was nowhere to be found. He spent the whole day going to different British officers, but perhaps the British had deliberately stopped his permit. Instead of wasting more time in bureaucracy, Wilson directly went to the British. He took off for Baghdad. Now Iran was in front of him, but he did not have permission to land there. So he had to find a new route. But the problem was that he did not have a good detailed map. He landed in Baghdad and bought a school atlas for children from the market and marked his route on it and left for Bahrain. During this time, British officers started thinking one step ahead of Wilson. They had already sent telegrams to the next destination. When Wilson reached Bahrain, a British officer called him to his office. The officer explained to him straight away that there is no airstrip ahead for your small plane. There is only one place in Iran, and you will be arrested as soon as you land there without a permit. That officer told Wilson that he can refuel his plane in Bahrain, but only on the condition that he will go straight back to London from here. Wilson agreed to this, but when he took off, instead of turning towards London, he took a direct turn and went east towards India, passing through the southern coast of the Persian Gulf, avoiding Iran. Secretly, a new strip was spotted on the map of a British officer in Bahrain, near Iran, and that was in Gwadar, which was earlier part of India. After 15 hours, when the fuel gauge of his plane came close to zero, Wilson landed safely on the Gwadar airstrip. Wilson continued his journey to British India, where a new enthusiasm of the press was waiting for him. He traveled all over India celebrating his victory and finally reached Purnia, a city in northeast India, which is very close to the border of Nepal. But the long arms of the British government reached him again. The local police were waiting for him at the Pornia airstrip. They confiscated the Everest and deployed security guards on Wilson. The British government reminded him again that despite having a plane, Wilson did not have any permission to fly over Nepal. Wilson was now badly trapped. Forget about permission. He could not even fly his plane because it had been confiscated. Now he was stuck between the British government and the decreasing amount of money. Finally, in July 1933, he was forced to sell Everest. His plan to crash land his plane on Mount Everest was completely ruined, but he still did not give up his insistence to climb Everest. He spent the winter season in Darjeeling, India, kept fasting, kept praying, and tried to get a permit to enter Tibet so that he could fulfill his dream by climbing Mount Everest from the Tibet side. But all his attempts failed. Finally, he secretly started planning to climb Mount Everest. On March 21st, 1934, Wilson started his journey on foot in the disguise of a Buddhist monk and crossed Sikkim and reached Tibet. After making a couple of attempts, he returned from the base camp of Mount Everest because his health was deteriorating due to shortness of breath and lack of training. In 1934, Wilson again set out for Everest, but this time with two companions. Both of these companions were experienced, so this time they reached Camp T in just 3 days. Wilson left his companions at Camp T and went alone. He started moving forward. His companions tried to convince him not to go further, but he did not listen to anyone. This was the same stubbornness which could kill a person. Wilson gave one last instruction to his companions that if he did not return for 2 weeks, then understand that he was dead. But they waited not for 2 weeks, but for a whole month. When Wilson did not return to Camp TH, they left Everest and came down. In the last days of July, they reached India and gave the news of Wilson's death. Finally, another British mountaineer had become a victim of the terrifying world of Everest. 1 year after this incident, in 1935, Eric Ship's Everest expedition found Wilson's body. He was lying between his backpack diary and torn tent below the pass named Northcall between Mount Everest and Shanks. The last entry of his diary was of May 31st, 1934, in which he wrote, "I am leaving again. What a beautiful day. Hope you people will like and share this video of InfoX TV. Thank you very much for your loving comments. See you in the next wonderful video.